Hi everyone, it's Edo Delamonte from DraftKings taking you through my Matchday 9 8-man lineup for this weekend's Premier League action. We begin in goal with Tom Heaton of Burnley, ladies and gentlemen. He's only 4,000 and he's playing against Everton. Everton have been a little bit up and down of late. Yes, that result against City was very good, but teams tend to sort of dip sometimes, even psychologically, after such a good result. Burnley at home have actually been quite a tough proposition. They don't concede that much. And you've got to look at the average there. He's averaging almost 10 points a game. There's a lot of saves in Tom Heaton's sort of CV, especially for this season, so I think it's a very solid pick. And yeah, you've got to think about Romelu Lukaku as well. Everton in attack, they haven't exactly been producing the goods every week. It's going to take a little bit more time for that to get good. So I think that Tom Heaton is a very solid pick. Your most expensive goalkeepers this week cost about 6,000. So you're saving 2,000 there right off the bat. Let's move on then to our number 2. He's averaging 7 points a game this season. It's Laurent Koscielny of Arsenal, 4,200 playing Middlesbrough. Now, what are we considering here? He scored 2 headers already this season. He's always a threat in the box, and I also think the clean sheet factor is going to be important here. Middlesbrough have really looked putrid of late, and I think Koscielny is a very solid pick. We move on to Bruno Martins Indy of Stoke City, playing away to Hull. Now, Hull are better, of course, at home than they are away, where they've been absolute garbage. But Stoke have actually looked better recently. You've got that draw with Man United. You've got that win, finally, for the Potters. You know, Shaqiri is back. And I'm looking at the value here for Martins Indy, who is a fullback and is cheaper than most fullbacks. Yes, of course, he's got a lot of sort of centre-back in his DNA. But he was an attacking player at Porto. He's one of those many talents that Stoke have picked up, which I think are going to shine. You know, Mbula hasn't done it yet, but you look at all the Shakiris, the Arnautovic's, the Allens. Well, Boney, we've got to wait on him as well. But a lot of these cheap, clever value picks, and I think that Indy is one of them as well. Let's move on to the midfield then. Speak of a devil, Joe Allen, he's back from injury at 6,200. I think he's a very good pick. He's playing against Hull City, who really can't defend. He is kind of everywhere for that midfield. And you look at his average points, he's clearly not depending on goals or assists. He does a lot of other things. His tackle numbers are good. His interception numbers are good. He always gets in the box. I think he's a very solid pick at 6,200. Another 3 p.m. start. Swansea welcoming Watford. And this is a player I should have picked long ago. Modou Barrow, averaging 8.2 points a game. Right, so Swansea kind of looking, you know, we're hoping that they're going to be galvanised from this new managerial change. Barrow does actually put in a lot of crosses every game. He's one of the most sort of, he crosses, he's in the top 10 in the Premier League for crosses per game. He's over the 3 mark, so that's already points guaranteed. He's got a few shots in there as well. I think he's a really solid buy. Borja Bastone came alive last weekend at last, so we could finally see an assist in there for Mo Barrow. We move on then to our attackers. Now, this is an attacker slash midfielder. In fact, both of my guys are attacker slash midfielders. Nasser Shadley and Theo Walcott. I was a bit critical of Shadley last week because I said he had one good game, but in actual fact, he has now scored 4 goals, I believe, since his return. Well, not return, since his move on loan from Tottenham Hotspur. Liverpool have actually not kept a clean sheet at home this season, even though they've murdered Leicester City and they've murdered Hull City. I think West Brom are actually more of a proposition defensively than both sides. Could Shadley snag a goal on the count? I remember James Milner is still playing left back. Our other striker is Theo Walcott. Now, so Walcott will be appreciated by DraftKings players because he has actually sort of sneakily been one of the highest scoring players this season. On the other hand, there's the fact that he was rubbish for England once again. A lot of the press editorials are really not happy with him, even though he came back and scored 2 goals last weekend. Here's the thing about Theo Walcott. A lot of sort of everyday players will probably go for him anyway, but a lot of sort of random tourists and people who still compose quite a healthy percentage of DK players will not necessarily like him. He's averaging 15 points and he's still only 8,900. That's pretty reasonable. We move on then to our final player, our utility man. It's Andros Townsend. He's Jamie Hincks' favourite in pretty much every conceivable way. Yeah, 9,000, but you know, he was recently ranked by Who Scored as one of the most defensive midfielders in the Premier League, and as Jamie pointed out last week, his tackle numbers, his interception numbers are high as well. He does everything you need except score goals and assists, and he still gets good DK points. He has to be in there. Right then, there's my 8-man lineup. Take another look at it. It's probably going to be terrible. I'm Edo Delamonte. Have a lovely weekend.